Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday fishing report. Today is October 25th, so if you're watching this, it's nowhere near October 25th, please click up here. It's a link to all of our fishing reports. We've probably got something more up to date for you. In these videos, we look at politics, we look at current events, and obviously we go over the fisheries. So this week, we are going to be looking at chum fishing. The chum numbers specifically, because they aren't good. We're going to take a look at the Albion numbers. We're going to talk a little bit about the Squamish, see on what's going on there. With that in mind, we will talk a little bit about politics. We're going to talk a little bit about the Sports Fishing Institute video that came out last week. And we're also going to plug their Big Splash Gala, so make sure to stay tuned for that. As always, we'll go over all the weather. We'll look at each river. We'll look at the Vedder. We'll look at the Chilliwack, sort of same river, Squamish, Harrison, and Stave. And then we've got a cool product this week, something I don't usually plug very often, but it's called Bling Bunny. And all you fly tyers, whether you're tying jigs or you're tying flies, will want to check that out. And lastly, we had another video this week. It's a casting video that I did on a mind trick that I use to really help my tracking and fly casting. So we'll talk about that a bit as well. As always, if you guys are new to this and want to see more reports like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get into the report. So here we are, October 25th. Just for full disclosure, as always, I'm filming Thursday night, so reports that we may look at might be a little more up to date. So as always, check before you go out. But right now, we're looking at excellent weather. We've been sort of getting hit with a constant barrage of challenging weather. Not bad weather, it's actually been good in a lot of ways, bringing fresh fish in. But it looks like this week is going to be the first steady week of sun. And some relatively cool weather. So let's pop it open. Let's run up to Vancouver weather right here. You can see that today, as you guys are watching this on Friday, we're going to see a little bit of weather, a little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzle. But then here comes that beautiful sun that we're going to see sort of Saturday right through to next Thursday. Now, temperatures, that's usually where I look, and I'm going to pull up Squamish because that's more important to us fishermen. We're going to look at the low temperatures here. They're pretty nice high temperatures, be nice fishing days out there, and we are getting cool, which is good. So 2 degrees, 4, 3, that's going to clear up the water substantially. Probably be the first time we see the Squamish in a really clear state this salmon season, and it should make, at least on the beginning of it, really good fishing. As we get into next week, if this weather forecast holds true, which it rarely does, we might see some really clear water, which may make fishing more challenging sort of Thursday, Friday next week. Let's roll that over to the real-time hydrometrics because quite frankly, right across the board of British Columbia is going to look fairly similar, at least the lower mainland. We're going to get a little rain Friday, and then it's going to look great for the week. But when we pull up the real-time hydrometrics, this is Chilliwack River, and you can see we did get a spike yesterday. Actually, that was sort of Monday, Tuesday, and that did dirty up the water considerably. But again, bringing fresh fish in, that's a good thing. As we see it dropping down here, it's still a little bit high, but that should lead really nicely into the fishing over the weekend. So it's definitely a go there. Throw it over to the Squamish, and you can see similar sort of back a little bit farther, we had more rain. And in that same time frame, they had less rain on the Squamish, and it fished pretty decent over this last week. It's now getting into sort of a 2.4 range. And we do want to keep an eye on that because if it plummets below 2, you're going to see relatively low water, and when water gets low, we're going to have to dumb down our presentation, get a little bit stealthier, whether you're a float guy or a fly guy. But as it stands now, again, Squamish is a go for this weekend. It should be good fishing. So on the fishing side of things, obviously that weather's great news, and it's definitely worth getting out. We expect some great reports from this weekend for you guys. But a lot of the news this week was focused around the Chum Salmon fishery, which is not doing well at all. We will not be seeing a catch and retain fishery for any of our major systems in the lower mainland this season. They have closed the Chilliwack, they have closed the Harrison. It is catch and release only on those systems. And then historically the Squamish opens November 1st, and they have pulled that back and said it will not be opening on November 1st for retention. That's not the end of the world, because obviously chum are an excellent catch and release fishery and not the best table fare, but it's still very concerning on a numbers level. That said, with all the caveats that come along with it, is make sure if you're catch and releasing these chum that you do treat them with the respect they deserve. They may be ugly, but they're a really cool fish to target, and so make sure every single one that you catch this season gets back. And but looking at the numbers, and that's where it gets interesting, is there might be a little glimmer of hope if you guys are planning on getting out in the next 5 or 6 days. We look at the Albion test fishery to sort of gauge what's going on here. And this has been going on since 1981. There's a lot of data from this test set. They take it relatively about the Stave area, or just a little bit down from the Mission Bridge where the old Albion ferry crossing was. And it's different sets. If you guys want to read on that, Google search Albion test fishery. It's quite interesting. But the news here is that up until now, we've only had about 459 fish caught in the test set. I only have data up till the 20th, so there's obviously a couple days in there that I'm really looking forward to seeing, because it could be interesting. But if you see here, we've got 83 and 64. Those are actually relatively bigger numbers compared to what we're seeing. And when we were talking with my biologist buddy last week, he was saying it's about 2 days that we'll see these fish, when they get caught, show up at the Vedder, and roughly 2 days as well showing up at the Harrison. So when I've been looking at numbers, and I saw some more up-to-date numbers earlier, they were higher, which is good, still very, very low. Like I said, 459 is where we're at. 1300 is where we were at last year in the same time frame, and it wasn't a good chum year last year. So keep that in mind. We should see some good reports this week. We saw a few this week, but it's nothing to write home about for sure. And definitely, as always, treat those fish with some respect and care. So obviously that's really concerning with the chum numbers, and there's been numerous concerns with our salmon fishery over the last few years, and specifically this year. And with that in mind, we did a video, or posted a link to a video. It came out right at the last minute of the Friday Fishing Report, and I couldn't feature it. But it's one that Rob Alcock did, and it lays out the mismanagement of our fishery this last season. It goes through the facts, it goes through the dates, so you guys get a really clear picture, because it's super hard hearing little sound bites of what's going on, be it from the politician, be it from someone like me or someone in a fishing store, and then from what you're seeing out in the field or out in the fishery. So take a look at that. Even if you've voted already, obviously there's nothing we can change now, but being educated on how it went down is the only way we're going to be more educated when the next management issue comes into play, and maybe we can be a little more voiceful. With that voicefulness in mind, the Sports Fishing Institute has their Big Splash Gala coming up in November, and this is something we wanted to let you guys all know about. It is November 15th, and I believe there's still tickets available, as well as this is a cause you definitely want to support. These guys have been the loudest this year in standing up against what's been going on, speaking out against what's going on, and they're also really well connected to the process of managing with DFO. They work with DFO directly, as well as dealing with politicians directly. So this is a cause worth looking at, and they also have a conference that goes before the big party, where they go over a bunch of sort of policy changes, science stuff that you want to be educated on. So check them out at Sports Fishing Institute. I'll link that in the description below. And let's move on to something a little more positive, a little more fun. I've got a new product for you guys. Now, I don't usually plug products in the fishing report, but this one's cool. This one is something that I'm buying as we speak, and that is the new, they call it Bling Rabbit Strip. I'm super excited about this because you see a lot of fly tying materials out there. It's pretty rare that something surprises me, but this one does. So what it is a rabbit strip, but they've managed to laminate on a flashback to it. I'm sure a lot of you hardcore fly tiers are now salivating, going, I know how I'm going to use that. But you guys may be new to it. You can think of putting this in a twitching jig. You can think of putting this on any of your steelhead flies or larger salmon flies. And that added flash is going to be super cool. Come in a big variety of colors. This just won Best at Show at IFTD. And so I think we're the first shop to get it, but we've got a good stock on it. So come down, we've got a bunch of different colors. You got the pink and black, and I got a purple color here. These are the two that I'm going to play with, but we've got a bunch more. So make sure you check that out. Come down to the shop and the boys will give you a hand, and it's called Bling Rabbit Strip. Also, we released another video this week. It was a casting video that I did on one of these little tricks. It's sort of a mind trick that I've used, and I never really realized I was doing it until I really analyzed how I was casting. But it's a way to look at your back cast, but not just the way you've heard it a billion times before. It's a way to look at two spots that's really going to help you guys track better in your cast. It's a short video, so check it out. You want a little casting trick tune-up. And I'll link that up here, as well as I'll throw that down in the description below. So that covers what we've got today. Quick and fast. I hope you guys get out to enjoy the fishing over this next sunny week. And as always, check out the blog for way more details. We've got information on the Squamish, information on the Vedder, information on the Stave, information on the Harrison. I think there's a blurb on the Capilano. There may even be a blurb on lake fishing. Oh, and Jason has some updates on the winter Chinook, so you don't want to miss that. Also, if you guys want to see more videos like that, you guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and we'll see you in next week's report.